doubts clear. All right. Okay. Am I audible, guys? Just acknowledge.
Yes, you are.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's start now. So my name is Asif Iqbal. Okay, I have total
Mr.
13
Hemu,
plus.
you can mute you or everyone. You can mute everyone except AI.
Yep.
Please, I have muted. Yes, AI, please unmute yourself.
Sure, thanks. So hello everyone, welcome to this demo class. So my name is Asif and I have total 13 plus years of experience and 5+ years of experience in training. And I am primarily working on like F5 from past 8 years, like LTM, GTM, ASM, APM, and other stuffs, big IQs and other stuffs. And this particular demo is all about the GTM, which I'll be taking. And this will be as you can see on my screen, that it's a Saturday, Sunday, or a weekend batch, only from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., 2 hours on each day, or like I would say Saturday and Sunday. So 4 hours for a single weekend, right? And it will spread over 1.5 months, only on weekends, not on the regular days or the weekdays. Okay, and I'll be covering everything right from the DNS, the regular DNS, and the F5 GTM, and how GTM is in place, or how you can replace your DNS with the GTM, how you can put like DNS in your infra, like on cloud and other stuffs. Okay, so this is our website. Let me show you something. So this is our YouTube channel. You can see here, NST Firewalls, www.sianets.com. So you can visit this page and subscribe. And we have not only F5 Ltm and GTM, we have other vendors also, like Cisco, Palo Alto, ASA, Checkpoint, automation, DevOps, everything we have. Okay. And one more channel we have, which is Skill Inspirational Academy. Again, www.sianet.com is the the website where you can explore so many things. So this is our website. Okay, anything related to the training, inquiries, or anything you can do here. Okay, so you just have to visit the sianets.com. I am hoping that you guys are making note of these things. Okay, else you will refer to our recording later on, right? So these are our YouTube channels, and this is our website. Okay. All right. So for enrollment, you can reach out to this particular website also, and you can reach out to our email IDs, which I'll be sharing at the end of the demo. Okay. So now let me show you the course outline. So what we are going to cover throughout this GTM course. So this is the GTM, the course outline which we have planned. So here you can see it's a version 11.x, but I'll be okay. I can see Akhil has raised his hand. Yeah, Akhil. Hemu, can you unmute him? Hello.
Yeah, sir.
Hello.
Yes, you can unmute yourself now.
Yeah, hi, Iqbal, I have a question. You said it's a 6 weeks of training course, right? 4 hours each weekend. So it becomes 24 hours, but you said it's 60 hours of training. Hello. Hello, Asif,
Yes,
can you hear me?
Mr. Akhil, it will be like we will take Q&A later on, but it's a 60 hours. GTM will be 28 hours, and LTM would be 30 hours. So it will be around 30 hours maximum we are taking.
Okay.
So it's for the combo basically. And one more thing, like it's not only 24 to 28 hours. If you have any doubt, we can extend this session. So it's totally up to you. So we are not going to rush into towards the completion of this course. Okay. It's a ideal timing which we have calculated, and we have finished earlier batches. So it's up to us.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah. And now going back to the course outline, so we are going to cover these topics throughout this course, right? So I have basically, like what to say, distributed everything into 10 particular modules or chapters, right? So if you look here, so this course outline is made for 11.x, but I'm going to demonstrate and teach you on latest version. Not latest, I would say like the most stable version, which is for version 14. Okay, so we will be doing everything on version 14. Okay, so this course outline basically has, like big IP, how to set up a big IP basically. And when I say big IP, it includes like LTM and GTM. So Akhil, I can say you are raising your hand again and again. So if you have any question. Hello. Guys, if you have any question, then only raise your hand. Otherwise, don't raise your hand. Okay.
You can carry on. We can take Q&A
Yeah.
at last. Not an issue. You
Yeah,
can just carry
please,
on.
yeah.
Don't focus on the chat.
All right. So I'll be, talking about how to set up our, like GTM and LTM also. But this particular course is about the GTM. So I'll be taking care how to, like what you say, initially set up the big IP or big IP GTM and how to, like provision it, how to license it, everything. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Then after that, I'll talk about the generic DNS, not the GTM. I'll talk about the generic DNS domain name system. What is the difference between the, like legacy DNS and the F5 GTM, right? The basic difference, why we need GTM. Okay, what is the difference between, like Windows DNS, Linux DNS, and the GTM? So I'm going to cover all these things. What is the difference between zones and domains? So these things will be taken care in second chapter. Sorry. Now in third, like we have accelerated DNS resolution. So when you got to know about what GTM is, how it is different from other DNS is, like services, then you will get to know that it can we can accelerate DNS resolution with the help of GTM. All right, so I'll be talking about these things like the resolution decision flow, basically how to configure listeners and other stuff, how to configure like zones and domains on a GTM, how to do a zone transfer and other stuff. So I'll be talking about all these things in chapter 3. Then the important chapter is this one, chapter 4, in which we are talking about intelligent DNS resolutions. So as of now, in your organization, you might have like Windows DNS, right, or Linux DNS. So those DNS are not intelligent, right, as compared to the GTM. So we will like find what is the difference between like intelligent resolution and the normal resolution. Okay, so GTM is a basically an intelligent device or intelligent DNS. So we will see all these things, right? How to set up, like GTM in 2 data center, how to make them in sync, how to establish iQuery and other stuffs. So we will be talking all these things in this chapter 4. Okay. Now again about the LDNS probes and matrices. So when I talk about LDNS, it means like local DNS system, where you can think of LDNS as a Windows DNS, Linux DNS, and we can also make our GTM as a LDNS. Okay, how to probe them, what all the metrics we have to take into considerations. So we will talk about all that thing in chapter 5. Then we will talk about the load balancing of the DNS request. Many of you are aware of LTM. Then you must be knowing that there are so many like load balancing algorithms which we use, right? Like round robin, ratio, global availability, static load balancing, other stuff, list connections. So those were related to on LTM. Those are related to basically like what you say, real load balancing or the normal load balancing traffic or application traffic. But here we will talk about how we can load balance the DNS traffic. Make sense? So we will talk about all those things in this particular chapter, right? Then monitoring and the probes, I would say, how we can like monitor the DNS resources, right? We will talk those things in chapter 7. Then what all the configuration files are there in a GTM box or LTM box, we will see that in chapter 8, right? Where we can also talk about the log files, like where we can find the log files, how to interpret the log files, right? how to configure SMTP, what all the SMTP features we have on GTM, right? So we will talk those things in chapter 8, and again some advanced DNS topics. Okay, so we will not go much like in detail here, because I'll talk about the basics of DNS security, because DNS security is a very important topic, but again it's restricted. So I would say, like, for DNS security perspective, I would say, like, I'll talk about the what all the things we have to take into consider while configuring the DNS security, because after HTTP protocol, DNS is the second most attacked protocol in the on the internet, right? So I'll certainly take that thing up. All right, then we will talk about the DNS 64. What is DNS 64? So it's nothing but currently when we are doing a DNS resolution, you may get a IPv4 address, right? Then but as we know that IPv6 are there, so we also have a IPv6 DNS records. So basically, like, the translation between the IPv6 to IPv4 and vice versa. So that's DNS 64, which we will talk in chapter 9. In chapter 10, it's nothing, it's just about the preparation for your GTM examination or certifications, which is F5 Ltm 302. Okay, and we'll take up some interview questions. So if you're preparing for some interviews and all, we will give you what to say, real scenario based questions, and we'll have a discussion around that thing. And also we'll provide basically a lifetime assistance. If you need any help after this course, okay, you can reach out to us and we'll be there to help you out. So I hope this is fine with you guys. With this, I would say, like, you can unmute here. If anyone has any question, they can ask.
Asif, you can just complete your demo, okay? And we will take the question and answers after that.
All right,
Yeah.
fine. Okay, now let's talk about the topology, like how our GTM topology will look like, or the lab will look like. Okay, let me go back to our topology. Okay, so guys, so this will be our lab topology for this GTM course, right? So basically, I have created two data center. One is London data center, okay, and another is New York data center, okay. And it's a logical separation by this particular gateway router. So like how you can create a what you say, a big IP iQuery communication between these GTM devices. How you can configure this Linux box as a DNS, okay. How you can associate this LTM to this particular GTM. How you can connect this LTM to both the GTMs, right? So we will talk everything, and all our lab will be focused around this topology. Okay, we will achieve everything within this topology, lab topology. Okay, so in your infra, you may have two data center like this, like London DC and New York DC. You may have 4 data center also, where you have GTM in each data center, total 4 GTMs, LTMs in HA pair, like in one data center you might have two LTMs, right? So we will talk about everything once we start the lab. Okay, and for this particular lab, I'm going to use EVNG, right, on cloud, GCP, Google Cloud Platform. But you can simulate same thing on your what to say, VMware, okay, Oracle VirtualBox if you have, okay, any other GNS3 if you want. It's up to you, right? But I'm going to use EVNG for our lab demonstration. All right.
And I just want to add here, we will also help you building the same lab in your system by using EVNG. So you don't need to worry about that.
Right.
We will be sharing all the necessary softwares which you need for that.
Yeah. Any kind of assistance if you need regarding like lab creation, we will help you out. All right. So now let me like take few topics. All right. So let's start with what is DNS first of all, right? What do you mean by DNS? So DNS is nothing but a domain name system, okay, which is a very important, I would say, like a protocol or like a part of a network or in information technology, right? You cannot think like existence of your application without a DNS. So this is like one of the prominent and popular protocol, okay, in information technology. So everything revolves around DNS. So again, like DNS is segregated again, like this. You can have your DNS servers or system in-house, okay. You can have your like DNS on cloud, okay, or like ISP DNS we have, okay. So there are a variety of DNS. These are not DNS type, but I would say like these are the how you are deploying DNS, right? You can have DNS in your infrastructure also. Okay, you can have DNS on cloud. You can leverage the ISP DNS, right? So it depends on your like requirement. If you want to manage everything on your own, then you can use in-house. If you want few things to manage on your own, you can use like cloud. If you don't want to manage anything, you can leverage ISP DNS. Okay. And again, whenever we talk about DNS, there always comes records like DNS records. So I'm going to discuss everything in detail, right? So don't worry about it as of now. So the most common DNS record is A record, right? Then we have quad A record. Then we have PTR record. Then we have SOA record. Then we have NS record. And we have, like so many like TXT, MX and all. So A record is like simple. It's a very simple record. Suppose, like you are going to access one application like facebook.com. Okay. So this is a domain name, or I would say like FQDN. Okay. Or application name, whatever you can call it, right? But this has some, like IP address, suppose 1.1.1.1, right? So this name is resolving to this IP address. But do you know where this particular IP address or DNS record resides? It resides on your DNS. Okay, it could be your Windows DNS, it could be your Linux DNS or GTM as well. Okay, so it's simple. A record is very simple. So if you have a name, application name or FQDN, and if you are using IPv4 addressing, okay, and creating this particular, like record with the IPv4, this is called a record. So a record is basically a record for IPv4 addressing. What do you mean by quad A record? Same thing. Suppose Facebook has, like since we are using IPv6 now. So suppose FE::00 EA, whatever. So anything or any record which is having IPv6 addressing is under quad A record. Okay. So PTR, so we have PTR record also. So on your command line, you always do something like this: NS lookup, okay, and then the application name or FQDN, right? Like facebook.com, and you get an IP address, be it IPv4 or IPv6. So sometime you want to do a reverse lookup, right? That know an IP address and you want to know the application name or the DNS name, correct? So for that, we have to create PTR record on a DNS server. So it is used for reverse lookup, okay? IP to name, okay? And these two are name to IP, okay? So if you don't have any A record created, okay, you cannot resolve a name to an IP address. Okay, if you don't have any quad A record created, okay, then you cannot resolve an IP, a name to an IP with IPv6 addressing, right? So sometimes for a troubleshooting purpose, we may need to, do a reverse lookup, NS lookup, and then the IP address, and then you get a domain name or an application name, right? So for that, if you are getting an IP name, then it means there is some PTR record there on your DNS system. Okay. So without PTR, you cannot perform a reverse lookup. Okay. Then we have a start of authority. Okay. This is very important, what do you say, record, but this is more related to the zone transfer. Okay. So whenever you are doing a zone transfer, when I say zone transfer from one particular DNS, suppose you have a Windows DNS in your infra and you want to transfer one particular zone from your Windows to GTM, that particular transfer is called is termed as a zone transfer. I'll talk about zone transfer once we start the course, but for zone transfer we need this record, SOA, which is start of authority, right? Then we have name server records, right? This is very important, right? Whenever you are resolving something, right, it must be going to some DNS server for the resolution. And for that particular DNS server, you have to have a name server record. So without a name server record, you won't be able to reach to that particular, DNS server, and won't be able to perform any resolution. So this Facebook is somewhere on a DNS server, right? Right, and that DNS server is a name server for that particular record. Okay, so name server is again a very important record. Without name server, you cannot resolve it, or you cannot basically reach to that particular DNS server for resolution. Okay, then we have text record. Okay, so text record basically is a it's a record where you can put some description to a particular application. So suppose facebook.com is there, and if you want to put something that within a Facebook, right, there is a dev environment, production environment, QA environment, right? Then with the help of text record, you can add one description there, that whenever you are resolving facebook.com, if you are getting an IP address, okay, and if you have created a test record that, okay, fine, this particular resolution is happening within the dev environment, then you have to use that text record. Okay, and then you have to create a test record basically. Okay, then we have mail exchange record. So everyone use Outlook, okay, or Microsoft Pro on their mobile phone and on laptops, right? So mail exchange is basically used for email communication. Okay, so all the organization are using this record for their email exchange. Okay, so and there are a few more which we will see once we start the course. All right, now let me open a new one. Okay, now let's talk about the GTM and the legacy DNS, right? GTM and DNS. And one more thing, guys. So F5 has changed, its name, the GTM name, to DNS also. Okay, so they call it like Big IP DNS. Earlier it was Big IP GTM, but now it's called as DNS, Big IP DNS, right? So you can use it interchangeably. All right. And when I said DNS, just DNS, you just think of it as a legacy DNS. Okay. Like, we have Windows DNS. Okay. We have Linux DNS, and there are other also. So, but these are the famous ones, right? Now, why we need a GTM when we have, Windows DNS and Linux DNS, right? So, here we basically, trying to make a differentiation between the need and want, right? The thing is this, like in legacy DNS, right? We have something like this. Suppose we have created this record, facebook.com. Okay, I have given an A record like 1.1.1.1, and like as company grows, we thought that we should add one more IP, like 1.2.2.2, right? And so on, 1.3.3.3, right? So on Windows and Linux DNS, when we have created this facebook.com record, a record, okay, we have added like this 1.1, then 2, and then 3, right? So in legacy DNS, we don't have any, like what you say, load balancing mechanism. Okay. No load balancing mechanism, right? So what do you mean by that? So suppose, like this server has gone down, okay, due to some reason, and if a user is trying to reach this particular website, facebook.com, it will suppose first user, okay, like open it's browser, type this URL, and it is getting resolved to this IP address. Fine, it is working for him. That is totally fine. Now, second user tried to access the very same application, but this time this DNS, like server is responding with this IP 1.2.2.2, which is down, but still it is resolving to that particular IP address, correct? And suppose third user is trying to access something, then it will resolve to this IP 1.3.3.3, which is working. So it has no intelligence, right? It is still resolving to that down IP, and user is not getting the proper page, correct? So if you look here, it is doing that particular resolution in round robin fashion, right? So in legacy DNS on Windows and Linux, we have only one load balancing mechanism, which is round robin. Okay, so it will resolve you unlike like despite of being available or unavailable. Okay, so it will not bother about this is down, so I should not resolve it too. So this is where the first, I would say, like thing which GTM is resolving this particular issue, right? The thing is this: suppose same scenario, right? Facebook.com. Okay, same IP 1.1, 2.2. I'm just like shortening it. So suppose this is down, right? So when first user trying to reach this particular IP address, okay, it will resolve to this IP address. Second user will try to access this particular application or URL, then it will not going to resolve or hand it out this IP to the user. It will give you the next available, right? So this is why GTM is known as intelligent DNS. Okay, intelligent DNS. Okay, and we have not only round robin on GTM, we have like several static and dynamic LB methods. Okay, so legacy DNS has only one resolution mechanism or a load balancing mechanism, which is round robin. So even if it is down, it will hand that thing out, right? But here on GTM, it will intelligently see that, okay, this is down, I should not hand this IP out to the end user. And that way user will never got to know whether it's down or up, right? So it will exclude the down IP or member from the pool or from the record list or the zone list. Okay. And apart from this, again, when I say GTM is intelligent, so it means you can like use topology. Means on GTM you can do DNS resolution based on the geolocation of the user. So suppose we are in India and we have like one office in US and in Singapore, so and we have 3 data center. So like GTM has that functionality that it can resolve you to their local data center, okay, based on the IP addresses, based on the regions, based on the like continent, state, city, and everything. But legacy DNS, no topology feature is there. Okay, again, you can achieve high resiliency in GTM, right? No manual like intervention, means, so if you want to remove this IP address from the pool so that user won't get this down IP address, then you have to edit your zone file and you have to remove this, right? So every time you have to do it. So there will be so much manual intervention, and which is prone to errors, right? But in GTM you don't have to manually delete or anything. So suppose after 1 hour it came back online, right? So it will again start resolving to this IP address, right, on its own. We don't have to do anything. Okay, so here we have to manually edit the zone files, okay, and all. And again, like we have so many nice feature on GTM. Okay, I've just talked about few, but we have many more features which we will explore during the course. Okay. And again, apart from this, we all are aware of that there are two important DNS resolution tools available, which is like NS lookup, okay, and dig, right? NS lookup basically runs on Windows machines, okay. Dig basically runs on Linux machine, right? But you can also install dig on Windows machine, right? So if you want to do that, we can explore that thing during the course. But yeah, dig is very much exhaustive in nature. It will give you more details when you are resolving it via dig tool. And NS lookup basically give you like high level of information in regards of the resolution, right? But yeah, these are the very famous diagnostic tools, DNS diagnostic tools, okay, for the resolution. All right, and so we are going to cover everything in detail. So I'm just giving you a high level of idea that what we have and what we are going to explore, right? Then let me clear this out. All right, and then we'll also talk about the the zones and domains, right? So we don't know like the difference between I have seen that many of us don't differentiate between what is the difference between domain and zones, right? But there is a subtle difference between domain and zones, right? So I would say like domain, when somebody asks you, what do you mean by domain, right? Okay, so basically domain is nothing. I would say it's a logical division of DNS space. Sorry, my bad. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay, it's a logical division of DNS space. Okay. And zone it's a physical thing. So when I say physical, you may be wondering like, what do you mean by physical? So so whatever we have created in a zone like records, okay, it will get saved into a text file, okay, which we call as zone file. Okay, so that's why it's a physical thing, right? And domain is just a logical division of the namespace. When I say logical division, so okay, let me show you something. So this is root, right? Then we have top level domain like com. Then we have like .com net, right? Then we can have like edu and so on. Then again, like second level domain, we have like suppose F5, okay? So then we have like third level domain and so on. So if I just branch it out from here, like suppose like GTM, okay? So you can think of it like this. Suppose this is the FQDN, gtm.f5.com, okay, HTTP. So whenever you type any URL on the browser, there is an explicit dot at the last, but we never type it, okay? We never type that dot after .com or anything at last, but it is there. It's hidden. Okay, it's not visible to us because browser on its own append that dot at last. Okay, so when you have to parse this thing, DNS basically parse this particular URL in this way. It will start from this dot, okay, which is root. Okay, then it will go to that, what is this? This is top level domain, com. Then it will go to this F5 domain, which could be, second level domain, right? And then GTM, right? So it will parse it in this way, backward, right? From root till that particular host or the resource, right? And when I say, like parsing, like it is traversing the DNS tree or namespace. Make sense? And you can branch it out like anything, like you can have LTM here also, right? You can, after this, you can have like, Facebook or fb.com, right? You can have, like google.com, right? Everything is there. And after each and every URL, there is an explicit, not explicit, I would say implicit, like dot, which is root. Okay. And which we don't explicitly enter, right? Because browser will take care of that thing. Make sense? Okay. So basically, like client always, when a client is us, or you can say browser is your client. Whenever you type anything on that particular browser, like on Google Chrome, Facebook.com, client is going to query that thing with the DNS. So you can check your DNS by going to your IP config details, right? You must have that, either ISP DNS like 8.8.8 or your internal DNS or infra DNS. Okay. So domain is basically what? So you can think of it like this, F5 domain. Okay. So I can segregate this, right? That, okay, fine. This is F5 dot. This could be domain, right? Which is logical separation, but each F5 Ltm, GTM, it has its own zones, right? And zone records. We will see like how we have created this. Means for ltm.f5.com, okay, you create one IP address or a record like 1.2.2.2. So means this particular zone has its own, record or zone file. Correct. That's why zone is a physical thing, because we create records in a zone file, which is, which you can access and manipulate. But domain is just a logical division of the DNS namespace. Okay, and it will be clear once we, do things in, on lab. Okay. Now let me give you one more example. Okay. Let me draw. This is a client PC. Okay. Here somebody has typed www.f5.com. Okay. Now on your PC, you must have that DNS configurations, right? So I'm just assuming that it's our local DNS and it's our internal DNS, right? Here. Okay, this is a DNS server. Suppose 10.20.1.10. Okay, listening on port 53. So 53 is DNS port. Okay. And now, okay, I'm just going to show you how it is resolving. So you pull up a browser on your client PC and type this f5.com, right? Now, what PC will or a browser will do, it will send that query to the LDNS. Okay, LDNS, whatever configured on your machine, correct? So this first query is termed as recursive query. Okay, recursive query. Client is sending, like, okay, go get me IP of this particular FQDN or URL. Okay, so first it will check few things before going to the DNS. It will check its own cache, whether it has resolved earlier or not. If it has resolved earlier, then it should be in cache. It will check its cache. Then it will check its own host file. on Windows machines, we have our host file where we manually edit host entries, right? So if you have created, f5.com with some IP address, then it will never go to LDNS. It will resolve you from the host file, right? So it will first check the cache, then the host file, and third is OS cache. It's a browser cache, okay, like Google Chrome cache, and there is one more thing, OS cache, which is operating system, which is Windows cache, you can say, or Linux cache, right? So if it get resolved from these three places at first, then it will never make up to the LDNS, right? So suppose this is the first time somebody has tried accessing this from their machine, then they won't find this thing here, right? Then PC will send a request or recursive query to the LDNS. I need IP address of this. Now, on behalf of the client, LDNS will take care of that resolution process, right? Now, what LDNS will do? LDNS will, let me draw this here. This is dot, I would say like root servers. Okay. Then let me draw this f5.com. It could be longer URL also, but I'm just keeping it short. Now, LDNS will see, okay, you need this. I'm just removing this dot because it's a host thing. So, okay, now .com, f5.com. There is a dot at last. Now, LDNS will send this query to root server because it's a dot at the end, right? So root will check, okay, fine. I don't have f5.com, but I know where is, okay, I missed one thing, the com server also there. It will, send a response back to the LDNS that, okay, I know where is .com server. Okay. It will provide some IP address to this 1.2.7.8, right? And the query sent by LDNS to the, other servers like root and these things is termed as iterative queries. Okay. Now LDNS will see, okay, fine. I have .com address now. Now it will again make a new iterative query to .com. Okay. I want to resolve this f5.com. Okay. So .com will be like, I don't know, like f5.com, but I know where is, I don't know basically, f5 entire thing because I've missed this dot. But in short, I would say like, it will just give you a referral that fine, I know where f5 is, right? F5 server. Okay, instead of resolving it there, it will hand you out the F5 server or application IP address, which could be like suppose 1.2.8.9. Okay. Now LDNS will make a request to the F5 directly. Okay, resolve me this. Now it is the authoritative now because it has reached that F5 server where we have this f5.com hosted, that page is there. Now it will send that, okay, fine, this is the IP address 10 dot or 1.10.10.2. Okay, now LDNS will send it back to the client. Okay, this is the IP address of f5.com. Okay, you can reach out to, now client will directly initiate a query to the f5.com and page will be served. Okay. So, but we never bother like how it is happening, but these things happen within microseconds or millisecond, I would say. Okay. It's very fast. Okay. So, it's a very short URL, but suppose you have like big URLs like, suppose gtm.training.f5.com, and these all domains are separated and hosted individually at their own servers, name servers, then those many iterative queries will happen between LDNS and the name servers. And finally, after reaching to that particular host will revert to LDNS that this is my IP address. Now LDNS will send it to the client and client will then make a connection. But whenever we just type on our browser, we feel that, okay, it's very quick, right? But these things happening in the background. Okay. All right. So this is resolution, how resolution takes place. Okay. Now, last thing I want to discuss for demo. Let me. we have talked about like GTM, right? But many of you were wondering like, what is LTM, right? So GTM is Global Traffic Manager. Okay, LTM is a local traffic manager. Okay, so as I told you earlier that they have changed it to DNS. Okay, so I'm just putting it here. So global traffic manager is doing just DNS resolutions. Okay, resolutions. It will not do load balancing of the real application traffic. For that, we have, like local traffic manager, real application traffic load balancing. Okay, right? So GTM is all has zones and records, right? LTM has virtual server, VIPs, pools, members, nodes. Okay. GTM is again, like having, like pools, but these are, like wide IP pools. Okay. So VIP and wide IP are different things. So VIP is also known as virtual server. Okay. Virtual server. Okay. Wide IP is nothing but a FQDN. Okay. Like this, suppose f5.wip.com. Okay, something. So this will only resolve an FQDN or URL to an IP address. Okay, but real, like resources are load balanced on LTM. Okay, so there are many more things you will get to know, right? How we can, what is it, discover all the LTM virtual server on the GTM for the resolution that we can do, right? Suppose you have 4 local DNS servers or legacy DNS servers configured on LTM, and you have deployed GTM in your infrastructure, and you wanted to, basically do a load balancing, across those 4 LDNS or the legacy DNS servers. For that, you can create a pool on GTM with, those virtual servers of DNS servers. Okay. And now you can create a wide IP pool, and then you associate that particular DNS pool. And, based on the, the listener configuration, other stuff on the GTM, it will try resolving to those DNS server, or I would say like it will load balance the DNS traffic across those real virtual servers or the DNS servers. Okay, we will certainly look everything into action. Okay, once we start the lab and all. So okay, nothing is happening like on air, right? So we will certainly see everything in action. So I think like I have covered few things, not everything. So it's not time to take your questions. If you have any doubt, any like suggestion to give. Okay, so Hemu and Vidit, you can unmute them. Hello, guys.
Hello, sir.
Sorry. Yeah, hello. Yeah, please. Who is this? Hello.
Sir,
guys, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. Okay.
This side okay. Sir,
yeah.
ये LTM और GTM में पहले LTM शुरू होगा कि GTM होगा?
Vidit, can you comment on this? We can do it parallelly also. So you can start, like LTM and GTM parallelly. Okay. And that way you will, make most out of it.
Okay.
So, but it depends on your preference. Like, how do you want to, like proceed? Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Asif. Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
Asif, there is a silly question that what is WAF? Would you cover the WAF?
What WAP? Can you spell it?
WAF application filtering.
WAF.
WAF application filtering.
WAF.
Yes.
This is web application firewall.
Yes.
Okay. This is not web application filtering in what you say F5 or big IP terms. So it's a different module. Like we are studying GTM and LTM right now. Similarly, we have WAF or ASM module. Okay, for F5. So and that is altogether a different, module. Okay. So WAF is a web application firewall or ASM product of F5.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Actually, where will you use this GTM? Like, which all the scenarios will GTM will come?
Okay. 1 second. Let me.
Suppose if if we get some GTM IP, once it get the GTM, say suppose if want to be connect some DNS IP, that means like some application IP that will go through the GTM first result. After that, will it go to the LTM again?
Yeah. So the thing is this. Let me show you something. Okay. So suppose this is a hypothetical data center having GTM, right? GTM is connected to internet. Okay. Now on GTM we have, or within a data center we have LTM1. Okay, and another is LTM2. These two can be in HA or could be a standalone also. Now there is one user sitting over here trying to resolve something like this f5.com, right?
Yeah.
So after going through all the process which I've explained, okay, it will
Yeah.
reach to GTM, right?
Okay.
So on GTM, if you have created this wide IP having, like suppose same name, something like this, f5 dot, I would say, let me write it 1 second. Okay, a wide IP created on GTM as like f5.wip.com. Okay, so WIP is, I've just given one delegated domain here that I will explain later on, like how we can, deploy GTM. There are a few modes which we can use for GTM. Now I have created this wide IP. Okay, now this wide IP is having a CNAME on your local DNS like this, f5.com. So f5.com and f5wip.com are same. Okay. Now on wide IP, we have, suppose this f5.com is here. There is a backend servers. Okay. Okay, these are f5.com servers. Okay. Where we have those applications or pages, right? Which you're trying to fetch. Now on wide IP, I will create a wide IP pool. Okay. And these, backend servers or members are part of VIP, right? Virtual server, correct? Within a pool. Now F5, what F5 will do? F5 will, see that, F5.com have a F5.com is basically having a wide IP, F5.wip.com, which is associated with a pool. Suppose my first VIP is this VIP1, okay, from this LTM, and we have VIP2 if they are in a standalone, right? VIP2, right? Listening on port 80, listening on port 80. Now these are the virtual IP address, not the real backend server IP address, right?
Okay.
As of now. Now this virtual IP address is suppose 1.1.1.1:80. Now what GTM will do? GTM will resolve to this IP address 1.1.1.1, right? That's it. The GTM job's done right there. Client will have 1.1.1.1:80. Now client will initiate this connection to directly to this particular IP, which is what? LTM VIP, correct?
Okay.
Now within that VIP, VIP1, this is VIP1, no? 1 second. VIP1 is 1.1.1.1 on LTM1, listening on port 80, having two members for F5.com, which is 2.2.2.2 listening on port 80 and 2.3 listening on port 80. All right. Now these are the real F5 servers, F5.com, where we have this place. Now LTM will load balance based on whatever LB mechanism we have configured there. It will give you this IP address, or it will basically, take that request to these IP address, which is the real backend server hosting that f5.com page, and you will get, get that particular page on your browser.
So which IP we can able to ping to get this server, or like is it a GTM wide IP or
sorry, come again.
Which IP we can able to get this traffic? Is it a GTM wide IP or a VIP IP?
Okay, so see, GTM, as I told you, GTM is not having any IP, just doing a resolution, right? If you look here, this VIP1, VIP2 are on LTMs, right?
Okay.
We have just called them on the GTM and created a pool now and associated with this FQDN. Now it will hand it out to client that, okay, this is the IP you go and talk to. Now client will talk to this LTM or virtual server where we have these real backend servers, and then the process, then the traffic will be processed, right?
Okay, just a mapping is going on, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So because see, if you just remove, if you don't have GTM also, right?
Yeah.
So then it could be your DNS, Windows DNS, right?
Yeah, got it.
Anything it could be, but we are using we are talking about GTM. So that's why I have, showing you that how GTM will process. But there should be, as long as you are having name, you are typing any name on your browser, it means there is some record created somewhere, be it Windows DNS, Linux DNS, or GTM. Okay, just keep that thing in mind.
Sure, yeah.
Nothing will happen like magic. Okay, there has to be some records on some DNS servers.
Sure. Is there any way, like suppose if we have two different data center having two different GTM, which GTM that will be going through that one? Can be able to find out from the client side?
It's totally feasible. Okay, but GTM is a DNS thing. So if you have two data center, like having one GTM in each, right? They can be in active. Okay, and even if your one GTM has gone down for any reason, GTM2 will take care of all the DNS traffic. They could be in sync, right? Okay. And as I've talked about the topology, based on the topology records and reason creation, you can also restrict user to that particular data center with the help of GTM, based on their source IP address, their country, continent, geolocation. Okay, so these things are achievable via GTM, not with the legacy DNS.
Oh, okay. We can configure.
Yeah, we can configure that thing with the help of topology, which is a unique feature on GTM.
Sure. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, hi. First of all, congratulations, and I really appreciate for creating a such platform to Asif, Vidit, and Mohit. And my query is, I'm quite naive in security domain, so my query is related to this course. Is there any prerequisite for this F5 or Palo Alto means these courses that you are teaching right now? Means being a naive, being a new person, I just switched my domain from data to security. So I know a little bit of networking.
Yeah, I totally get your point. So don't worry. See, the only thing I would say, secret of getting ahead is getting started, right? So if you want to learn something, you have to start first, right? Everybody start from a...
My concern for just putting this question in this forum, my concern is this: am I be suitable for this course, for this batch that I'm being a new person and asking a silly question in between?
Obviously, we will start everything from scratch. Okay. So why would I, teach you something advanced before teaching you the basics, right? That doesn't make sense to anyone. If you don't know what do you mean by records or how DNS work, or what do you mean by DNS, domain and zones, then what's the point of doing GTM or LTM or any technology, right?
Definitely. So I can take it. You can take all the
Yeah, I'll
participants.
start from basics. Okay, okay. Let me show you one more thing. If you look here, see, this is GTM, right? I have Linux also. So first I will start, I'll, talk about the basics of DNS records and everything. Then I will make this Linux box as DNS for all the resolution. Okay. So that you just, differentiate between what do you mean by legacy DNS or, other stuff. Then I'll talk about the GTM. Then I'll do a zone transfer from this Linux machine to big IP. Okay, then I'll make client to resolve to GTM directly. Then I'll make client resolve to this Linux box directly. Okay, how we can leverage the DNS functionality at max by doing a zone transfer, right? By creating a wide IP, right? And other stuff. How to set up a sync configuration between these two, GTMs across two different data centers, right? How to discover this LTM virtual servers on this GTM2 and this LTM2 virtual servers on GTM1 and vice versa. Okay, so certainly there will be basics. Okay, without basics there will be no point of discussing advanced topics. And since you are new to since you are new to the technology, so I I'm just thinking that you don't know anything. That's the best part, right? And you can easily grab everything. And if you have any queries and concern, then you can ask us right away.
Thank you for your answer.
Welcome.
And you guys are emerging a great platform in COVID situation. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, guys, anyone else? This is your time. Okay, you can ask as many as question you have. Anything related to anything. Okay. And guys, it's yeah.
So just share yours. Sorry, Asif sir, just share.
Outline.
Mr. AI, just share your that banner so that they can reach out.
Right, sure. I'll do that.
So that they can enroll us or contact us. Guys, if anyone is interested, they can reach out. We will be starting live batch. Can you just minimize the banner because people are not able to see the numbers to contact? Just minimize. Just little decrease your size. No, you can. I cannot see the.
Okay, no worries. Let me. Okay, I think it's there only. 1 second.
Just stop sharing your screen and share it again with the new pen.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me go to this. Okay, if this works.
In PPT?
No. Just stop it sharing, Mr. AI, and share that
1 second.
Just stop.
1 second. Give me a moment.
So share your PPT.
Sorry?
PPT. Share your.
PPT. See, we will provide you a stuff, but PPT is purely confidential.
Once we enroll, we will share.
Yeah, and once we will complete, we will certainly provide you some stuffs, right?
So we have our own application. You can enroll us, and you will get the stuffs.
So this is a confirmed batch starting on 22nd Jan.
Yeah, Mr.
Okay, thanks for today then. Yeah.
Yeah, just wait. Mr. AI is sharing his screen again, so that Mr. AI, you're there.
Yeah, just give me a second. Almost done. Okay, 1 second.
Asif, you can share your screen.
Yeah, once again, it's stuck. 1 second, give me a moment.
Okay.
All right, due to some technical issue, it's not happening. So let me share my screen. I have that banner here. So let me share my screen. Let me know once it's visible. Yeah, this is the banner. You can refer here.
Yeah, so just enlarge it, just maximize it a little bit more. So guys, hi, thank you for joining first of all, and happy new year. So we are starting a new batch from 22nd. So first GTM will start. Once it's finished, we will start with LTM. So the total fees for both is 12,000. And timings would be depending on 2 to 4 p.m. weekend classes 2 hours. It depends on your comfortable, but this we have choose 2 to 4 timing.